Senate Bill 115 would legalize the sale of recreational cannabis. It passed its first hurdle on Tuesday as senators voted 4-3 along party lines, Democrats for and Republicans against, to pass it after hours of public comment and debate. Those in favor cite public support and the opportunity for an economic boon. Those against bring up safety and health issues, among other concerns. And Merritt, we'd be roughly one of a dozen states with legalized recreational cannabis, but we'd be one of, I believe, 3 states, or the 4th state. I'm not sure if I have my...
I believe it's third.
Third, yeah, to pass it by statute versus, a public vote. Initial takeaway, I want to ask, first of all, from your sense of this initial conversation about recreational cannabis, how did that come out to you? What's your gut feeling
Well,
there?
I think there's very much a feeling that recreational cannabis is de facto legal. I mean, if you have a hangnail and 2 cereal box tops, you can go get a prescription for cannabis.
Right.
I was in a brew pub the other day that's next to a medical dispensary, and I was just going in to get a beer, and the weed was so strong. Like,
wow.
Dang, I'm almost getting a contact high from being next to the dispensary. And I asked the bartender, he's like, yeah, we get that a lot. Mm-hmm. It's here, it's being done. Law enforcement doesn't seem very upset about it. So I think doing it by statute, not by going to the voter, I think will be fine. I think there are inconsistencies in this project. I think there hasn't been a lot of openness. It's been the policy experts who've come in to make these recommendations for this bill haven't done a lot of listening, but they have done a lot of comments. So that's why this 173-page bill.
Right.
What I don't get is why we have a Cannabis Regulation Advisory Committee. Why don't we have a Cannabis Regulation Committee?
Right.
Cannabis Regulation Advisory Committee that also has to have a representative of organized labor. What? And there's so much extra in the bill. I would like the bill to say we will decriminalize recreational use January 1st, 2021. We will allow growing to begin January 1st, 2022. These reports will happen, and some filler in, and maybe it could be 30 pages. I think it's trying to do too much, and in doing so much, they've got some major gaps, like medical providers, and then a representative or senator, Steinborn, commented, you're still making it a 4th-degree felony to own 3 plants as an individual. So what is it? Is it decriminalized? Is it not?
Gotcha. Lots to be answered. Exactly right. Michael, same question. There was interesting pushback from some of the rural legislators, of course. They have their concerns about particularly liability to the state when it comes to workmen's compensation. I thought that was very interesting when you listen to the testimony from Tuesday that, because it stays in your system for so long, how does it really prove if you have an accident on the work site? Is it actually the weed's fault, something else? I mean, you see what I mean? It's a tricky thing for the state. Some work to do there as well, it would seem to me.
It's a valid concern, and if we're being honest, the technology just simply doesn't exist yet to accurately pinpoint, when someone has actually smoked or imbibed.
That's right.
And but thinking about the rural communities, thinking about this debate at all, a lot of it seems, if I'm being honest, it seems a little silly to me, because I feel like the arguments against having it legal they're based on antiquated ideas of what drugs are, and I in some ways I feel like, are we hearkening back to the reefer madness period in the 1950s where we're working off of this old information? The fact that marijuana is still a Schedule I drug or whatever, come on. Right. And so, even looking at people talking about, we're concerned about marijuana overdose and things like that. Well, the definition of marijuana overdose is basically paranoia, loss of motor function abilities.
Eating lots of cupcakes.
Right. It's basically the same thing. I just feel like we have to work with information that's a little bit better and that's up to speed in terms of.
Sylvia, on Michael's point, you could sense some frustration from Senator Jacob Candelaria, who's leading the charge on this, that he's having to chop through a lot of weird anecdotal stuff that's been twisted around a lot. A lot of the numbers, the folks who were opposed, He's got different numbers that says, no, the DUIs don't go up, but all the people say, no, it does go up. It was very odd to watch him try to get through all of this.
It was a fascinating hearing to watch, and I can recommend to the viewers that, I mean, it is online. It is, I think it is worth watching if this is a subject that you're interested in. I thought it was very interesting. Well, one thing that really struck me as I was watching the discussion is that it felt to me that we were, for the most part, and this is not necessarily true, for instance, of the Albuquerque Chamber of Commerce and some of the other groups that spoke against, but for the most part, it felt to me that the legislators had come to the realization that it was likely that it would happen, and they were starting to talk more about the logistics. And so, for instance, there was a discussion about licenses for growers. Would they be managed the same way that liquor licenses are managed? And nobody seems to want that, I think, for understandable reasons. And so it feels a little bit more like, yes, there are still some discussion about should this happen at all, but now there's more of a practical conversation, which in my mind suggests that as it goes forward, the expectation is that it will pass in some form. So what can legislators do to have it pass in the form that they think is best?
You know, interestingly, Dan, when you watch the debate, I think all but one of the current medical suppliers, medical cannabis suppliers, voted in support. Only one was opposed. And then later on in the debate, it was like, oh, wait, the medical suppliers will have a 1-year head start on selling recreational, ostensibly because they are already in the business. It brings some balance to it. Jerry Ortiz-Pino had a little bit of heartburn about that. I could sense he really thought maybe there was a little bit of an unfairness issue here as it works through the process. Who gets to do it and who gets to get in on the cash cow early is always going to be problematic, isn't it?
Well, that's the key, right? Because I mean, if you're not one of the first guys in by the time this takes off, it's going to it's going to wind up being like, if you were the first guy in Albuquerque with an e-cigarette franchise, you made a ton of money. Now, if you got e-cigarettes, everybody's selling them anywhere. They get them at gas stations. So timing, business-wise, is always important. I think there's some issues though that we've been talking about that I think people are kind of glossing over. Being in the insurance business, you do have this question about impairment. They're right that today, if someone pulls you over, there's a difference, and I'll defer to you. There's a difference between driving while intoxicated and driving under the influence. Both of them have problems. I mean, you could get in trouble either one. So, driving while intoxicated, I'm assuming, means you've been drinking. Driving under the influence means you've taken something other than alcohol. So you can hold people accountable for that. That, to me, I'm not worried about. And by the way, back when I was in the legislature, I was a leading proponent of decriminalization. We've talked about this for many years. I think our prisons are full of nonviolent drug offenders, and the alternative to mandatory sentencing for nonviolent drug offenders is to let violent criminals out the back door so we can put people who have not committed a crime other than having drugs in prison. And it's a ludicrous and archaic philosophy. But what we do have to look at, more importantly from the business perspective, I'm not worried about people, kind of to Michael's point, the reefer madness. People are going to be driving like the guys from like Chris Farley was when they were driving in the police car. Do you know why I pulled you over? Was I speeding? No, you're going 3 miles an hour. And most people I pull over go to the shoulder, not the median. That's not happening. I'm not worried about that. What you are worried about is the guy that drives a truck, the guy that drives a forklift, the contractor that does have an accident at work. And when you test them, you can't tell, did they get stoned last night? Did they smoke weed the night before? Did they smoke it over the weekend? Everybody's body metabolizes it differently. Now, you could say the same thing about alcohol when it first came out, but they came up with a breathalyzer test. I think we're not that far away from coming up with an ability to test this. And I know that Sandia is one of the leading places working on this. To me, that's a huge question to overcome. The recreational side of it, I do think we have to have some serious conversations. You talk to the people in Colorado, and some of those folks now have reservations about the long-term ramifications on the state and the state budget. And so I hope that we go slow and we look at this and say, look, because we're all looking at this for one reason only, a windfall of money. And if we're able to put some of this money away to say, listen, we're going to put money away to deal with the potential problem later, then I think it'll work.
We've got a minute left. A point made by Terry Cole from the Greater Albuquerque Chamber. There are a lot of federal places and other places that have a zero tolerance policy.
Oh, absolutely.
How do we get around that? That's going to be problematic.
No, okay, so I have to hold a federal security clearance. I can't hold it and be an active marijuana user. Guess what? I'm not going to use it. I mean, that's the situation. I think that's very simple, cut and dried. I think the biggest issue for New Mexico is we have to understand the big boom and the race is kind of already, the bubble's already kind of gone down. Colorado, California got that. Yeah. We're not going to be part of that. And what will also limit us is our water.
Yes, big point of contention there. That's it for us on that topic. We're going to revisit that one in the future for sure. Now, Gwyneth Doland takes us to the legislature next. Then it's on to our final line topic, wage theft.